Welcome back, friends. I know it's been a while since you've been in my craft space with me, but I'm happy to have you back. I'm happy to be back. I was dealing with some health issues and then I moved, so I actually have a new craft space, which I will do a tour of soon. I have much more important things to do this week. So this week, we are going to be doing some spooky sewing. Of course, I have to pop my head back up out of obscurity for Halloween. So I don't know if you saw, but Stephanie Canada is running a sewing challenge right now. It is to make the famous Walkaway dress, which, you know, theoretically, the original statement by Butterick was that you could start sewing the dress at breakfast or just after breakfast and walk away in it for lunch. Now, I do not wake up early enough in the day for that to be the case, but the challenge is basically how fast can we get it done. So I'm going to put my own little spooky twist on it, and I'm going to make a witchy walkaway dress, not just, you know, your average walkaway dress. So I'm going to be adding some witchy inspirations to it. I'm going to make it lace up instead of button up, amongst a couple of other things. My goal is for it to look like this. I have a couple of prep things I have to do before I actually start sewing. I am working on grading up the pattern right now. It was made for I think like a 32-inch bust, and that's not the size I am. It would be very small on me and be probably indecent and very uncomfortable to wear. And then I'm also going to be making a couple of other modifications to it, which I will talk about later. So let's jump into it. Okay, so these are my fabrics. This is going to be the main body of the dress. This is just my ironing board. I just got it. It's new and fancy, and don't mind the pile of paper on the floor. But this is my main body fabric, and then this is going to be my bias binding. I'm also going to be lacing this up with this ribbon. I know it doesn't match the bias binding, but it is the best I could find. This is technically wine and this is burgundy, so this one's going to be a little warmer. So what I'm going to be making today is the infamous walkaway dress, or Butterick 6015. The pattern was kindly provided by Stephanie Canada, who is hosting the sewing challenge. And I have printed it out onto printer paper at like 100%, and it worked out pretty well. So yeah, let's go! Okay, so I am starting off by doing some ironing. Wanted to have my fabric all nice and prepped and smooth. And then it was time to make my bias tape.
I made some adjustments to the pattern the day before. I decreased the width of the shoulder by about 1 inch on the outside. I shifted my darts over on both the back and the front by 1 inch outwards. And then I also shortened the skirt by about 4 inches.
So much bias tape. Now time for some tea. And then to start the challenge. First I laid out my pattern and I cut it out. Note the terrifying music in the background. I got like a Haunted Mansion soundtrack on or something like that, and it's sped up. Oh my god, it is scary. And then I cut out some canvas to reinforce where I'm putting my lacings, and then overlocked the edge of that would be exposed and not in the bias binding. Can't have any fraying. Then I overlocked where the shoulder seams would be so that those wouldn't fray either, because they were one of the only seams that wouldn't be encased in something later. And then I sewed up the back darts. Pinned the skirt to the back piece. And stitched it together. I wish it was that fast. So I'm already an hour and a half in. That's foreshadowing. Next was to cut the darts on the front. There's like a little slit you have to cut. And then you sew your underarm dart which my hand is blocking wonderfully. Then I tied the dart closed and sewed the other front darts. Sorry, there's technically 6 darts on the front if you consider like the one that's like 2 stuck together as 2. Can't say I'm a fan of that situation, but it wasn't like difficult. And then it was time to press it. So just press those darts towards the center. And then it was time to attach the front piece and the back piece together at the shoulders. Then I finished the waist seam with a piece of rayon seam binding in a really pretty wine color, slightly darker than the rest of the dress. And then next was to attach the bias tape, and then I did that the whole way around the dress. And then one of the last things for me to do was to install the eyelets. I got this really awesome eyelet press, or just like hand press for my birthday, thank you. And I probably need to mount it to something because it is super wobbly. But here are the grommets, or at least one of them. I think they look pretty cool. And then I'm just cutting the ribbon that I'm using for the lacing. Okay, I'm gonna make a cute little mask to go with the dress. Just melted the end of the ribbons, and it was time to lace up the dress and head out. Okay, so the dress is done. The dress is on. I've worn it twice now. It definitely took longer than I wanted it to, but it took me over 6 hours, just over 6 hours. A lot of people, it only took them like 3, but I like how it turned out a lot. It's really comfy. It's also because of the fact that I did lacing on the front, like between that and the elastic in the back of like the front panel. It's very adjustable, which is fantastic. I am really glad that I made the shoulders more narrow because it actually hits me like just at the, where the seam would be on a shirt, on the shoulder seam. And then I actually did add something. A lot of people that I've seen make this dress talk about how because of the weight of the back, because it's so much skirt compared to that front panel, like the back tends to drag the whole dress backwards because of that extra weight. I added a loop to the center back of the back piece on the waist seam so that my elastic, which was, I made a little tighter on purpose than it should have been for my size. I made it so that my elastic feeds through this loop, and it's actually worked really well. The dress hasn't budged. No shifting at all. So if you are experiencing that same thing with your walkaway dress, I highly recommend giving it a try and just adding a little loop to that center back seam. I need something so that the skirt doesn't blow open. Because it did try to do that a couple of times today. We had some gusts, I think, that were like 30 miles per hour, and it was like... I do want to give another thank you to Stephanie Canada for both hosting this challenge and also for providing the pattern. And yeah, so I hope you have a wonderful Halloween and that you are safe and happy and all of those other good things. So I will see you next time with some more fun, spooky fantasy crafts. Bye!